All right. Well, welcome everyone to the My Bariatric Solutions Support Group, December 14th, 2021. Here we are at another end of an era of this year. And we're so thankful that Megan is here with us to give us some emotional and mental support here. This is so important throughout the year, but I would say it's very important, especially around the holidays. I do want to tell everyone that we are being recorded, just so we can upload this on our website and others can enjoy. So here is Megan Adams. She will be presenting tonight. Thanks, Megan.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's nice to be with you guys. I have a little echo. Can you guys hear me okay? Anyone? Anyone? Okay.
It's echoing.
I'm going to turn my speakers down because maybe it's... Does that sound better to you guys?
That's better, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just needed to turn that down, but it makes you guys a little bit quiet. So if y'all have a question while I'm talking, please just pipe up. I want to hear you guys. I want this to be kind of a conversational situation. Most of the time when I present, I kind of curate that presentation. I have set things that I talk about every year. I think December of every year for a while, I've done this talk on mental health with you guys, or with my Bariatric Solutions Support Group. So if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, if I skimmed over something that you wanted to hear more about, or if you want to ask for more information on a subject that maybe I didn't even touch on, I want to meet you there. I will go for about 30 minutes as far as the presentation is concerned, but feel free to chime in. And then I will also have a question and answer time at the end. Let me get my little window share for you guys so you can see my little presentation here. Okay. Primarily, I just want to talk in generalities about mental health and wellness. I think you guys probably have your own thought processes on this. Chances are, if you underwent bariatric surgery, you had some kind of psychiatric clearance, either just from the surgeons or you met with a counselor to provide that. I am a therapist indicator that provides those. I don't as much as I used to because my practice has gotten very, very slammed, but I love working with this population. And I always self-disclose from the jump that I myself am, oh my goodness, I guess 2.5 years post sleeve. And I would do it over and over again. So I know some of you may be at different points in your journey. Some of you may be at a place where you're considering, maybe you already have had surgery, maybe you just got done with your procedure. So I'm keeping in mind that you guys fall on all ends of the spectrum. So again, if something feels skimmed over or you want me to focus more on a specific time period during this journey, then let me know. There's my email address on that first slide. I would love for you guys to hit me up if you need anything. I want to be a resource for you and for anybody who's striving for increased mental health in their world. So first, I just want to talk about the reality that the body keeps the score. I don't know if many of you have heard, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it talks a lot about just like the way that the brain is built and the malleability of the brain and our capacity to transform the brain and heal the brain, if you will, and the way that trauma impacts the brain. And how we can utilize mindfulness or EMDR and different coping skills that I'll talk about in a little bit to really heal the brain. When we undergo something like this, you're on a liquid diet in preparation, your body, you lose weight rapidly and your body's like, what's going on? And even though it's under the care of a physician and it's with good reason, your body still is kind of like shocked and doesn't really know what's going on. And also just the trauma of surgery. I mean, that's not something that outside of our first world amenities that we would really be exposed to as often as we have the capacity to grasp our first world medical care and healthcare options, right? So it's shocking and invasive and painful, right? Fair. Um, Pain is in the eye of the beholder, but period, when you undergo a surgery of any type, it is a moment of trauma. There's also the reality, if I don't know how many of you guys have had a psychiatric evaluation, if they happen to use the ACEs, but Adverse Childhood Experiences is a screening tool that I use in all of my clearances, and also just kind of in my therapeutic relationships period, because that helps us understand the exposure to trauma even prior to surgery, because chances are we all have been exposed to some number of adverse childhood experiences, and those number of adverse childhood experiences from 18 and younger, or our exposure to trauma as adults, can implicate or exacerbate our tendency for addiction, for substance abuse, which are two different things, for difficulty in relationships, for self-harm, for suicidal thoughts, for mental health struggles in general. So just kind of having an understanding of trauma, I work a lot with trauma, is very important. That's a book that I would recommend for literally anybody. The Body Keeps the Score. And just kind of understanding brain science. You can look up the hand model of the brain is a really good tool to utilize. And then How to Feel Your Feelings is a good book. And of course, my mind's totally blank. I'm a little bit out of sorts visual, like aesthetically. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh, we've lost her. Let's hold on a few minutes. She'll come back.
Can you guys hear me?
We can now.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's so sad. I'm so sorry, you guys. I had to exit out of my presentation. So what I may do, my slide deck isn't anything that's like mind blowing. Like, I don't think that you guys are going to be so inspired by my graphics that it's just life changing. So maybe you guys can just look at my makeup free face, and we will go through this journey without visuals. And then Rebecca, you can probably like tag or attach the PDF to the video somehow or something. So we will make this work, friends.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Who was the author of that book, The Body Keeps the Score?
Yes. Hold on, let me grab it and pronounce it for you correctly.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, because I was just at the 30 seconds that you guys didn't hear was probably like, because somebody loves me greatly and didn't want me to sound silly, but I was like, I'm totally out of sorts. I've been at home with my daughter who has asthma today, so I'm kind of like not as gathered as I typically would be. But it's Bessel van der Kolk. He is German, and he has a ton of incredible YouTube videos. And the other, you guys probably didn't hear me mention that I'm going to talk about the hand model of the brain. And there's a book called How to Feel Your Feelings. And I think that we should all read that book, and also understand the way, like, the basic functionality of our brain is. And that's Dr. Daniel Siegel, Siegal. And then I will also reference some books by Dr. Brene Brown tonight. if you've never heard of her, she has a PhD in social work, and she does grounded theory research on shame, vulnerability, and living a brave life. So did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. And please just jump in like that whenever I go through this. And like I said, I'm not gonna show you guys the slide deck anymore, just because I think that that's what made my sad Alvord internet not be able to hack it. So, as I was saying, understanding that surgery is trauma, understanding the basic functionality of our brain, we can learn that what we practice grows stronger. So there's this incredible study that Dr. Shauna Shapiro references in her book, Good Morning, I Love You. And she talks about when people look at mindfulness, they look at the way we increase the gray matter in our brain, and they look at the way we increase the neurosynaptic connections in our brain. And I promise you guys, this has so much to do with mental health. Just give me 1 minute to make my mindfulness argument, and then we'll lead into all the self-care and wellness that you can handle. But in this study, it looks at like the fMRIs and the spatial mapping of taxi drivers in New York City's brains. And spatial recognition, direction, that part of their brain is just massive and has so much energy firing to it all the time. And then they found that people who do practice mindfulness on a regular basis or meditation have more capacity for empathy and self-compassion and outward compassion. And we'll kind of talk about why that is. And then I'll kind of talk about in my curious brain and in my understanding of how people function in community and in self-care, my thoughts on that. But period, what we practice grows stronger. We have the capacity to change the functionality of our brain. We have the capacity to create new neurosynaptic connections. Another metaphor that I use when we talk about creating neurosynaptic connections is when somebody has experienced a brain injury or a stroke. We often see them recovering in a way that we might not expect them to. And that's because the brains are malleable. Even though one part of the brain died, the brain can create new connections to do the same things, to function in the same ways or similar ways that they previously did. Mental health and trauma, I mean, it's not from a physiological, structural standpoint of the brain, it's not different. We can heal our brains. And I think that that's super hopeful and super positive. And I hope that if you guys can take anything away from this mental health talk tonight, you will be able to know how much power you have over the way you see the world and the way you see yourself, and in the way that you develop thought processes. Okay, and get curious. Like, we need to talk about tough stuff. Maybe not tonight with this whole group. Maybe therapy is something that you might be interested in after hearing this tonight. But I think processing fears, expectations, dreams, hopes, like how you see yourself now. Are you struggling with body dysmorphia before, during, after your procedure? Have you achieved all your hopes and dreams, or are you still struggling? I think a lot of people have, they really hang their hat on life being 180 degrees different post-surgery. And then sometimes some of your struggles and some of your problems are still there, right? Even if you have this high of losing all the weight and you met your goal weight and you are so happy, you might go back down to that baseline struggle if you have an underlying depression or mood instability. And I think just figuring out how to gauge success in this journey, not only with your weight loss, but with mental health in general. Like, what does success look like? And how do we monitor that? So first, when we're just talking about the brain, I don't have anything on. Hold on. Let me see. I don't think that I have whiteboard on. Hold on. It says that I'm not sharing anything right now.
Okay, yeah, I've never actually seen this warning before, but it just says whiteboarding in progress. For now, only members of this board can participate. Soon you'll be able to too. And that takes up the majority of my screen, but just wanted to check.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't, that's so interesting. Yeah, right now I'm not sharing anything. Let's see. Trying to see if I can even just change the view so you guys can see everybody. Rebecca, do you have any thoughts on what we can do to change the view? I'm so sorry, you guys. I promise I'm not completely inept at this stuff. I'm just not super familiar with Teams.
Okay, I can unmute. So, oh, I don't know what the whiteboard, yeah, it was going across. I'm not sure. Because are you the presenter, Megan? Because if you are, then
Yeah, and I'm not sharing anything right now.
let's see. It's in gallery mode.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And right now, I would.
how's that? Did I do something?
I unmuted mine. Can you hear me?
I can see Laura.
I can see
Whose
Laura.
picture pops up?
And there's Megan. So can everybody see that? And there's Marilyn.
Hi.
Tracy.
Y'all,
I
I
still
gotta
see
say, I like
whiteboarding
faces
in
a lot better than the
progress.
little.
There's Shannon. There's my guy. I heard him talking. There's Kevin and Lance.
Nice.
I can see
Hey,
people
seeing
along the
faces makes me
bottom.
happy. It makes me feel like I'm not just speaking to an empty room.
I
Yeah,
can
go-
see people along the bottom, but on the main part of the screen, it still just has the whiteboarding in progress. But all the people that
Okay,
have
what
turned
if
their
I
camera
leave and
on,
try to come back?
yeah,
No.
I'm sorry.
Lance, press at the bottom. You see where your little oh, what do you call that? A phone with in the red where if you press it, you would hang up. There's 3 little dots. If you press that and go to meeting views, press that, and then you should there should be some choices on how to, and I put large gallery on mine.
I don't see a meeting views under those 3 red dots or the 3 dots.
It does look like the whiteboarding is off, so when Megan comes back in, we should be able to view it in gallery view.
Okay, can you guys see and hear me now with no whiteboard nonsense?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing everybody's faces.
Yay!
Free.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
I am so glad that you guys said something because I would have just been totally clueless the whole time. So thank you for showing your faces and for using your voices because I like the human interaction part of these things. It's really hard for me to totally dig in to mental health when I'm like, I think I'm talking to a black screen. Nobody's interacting at all. So please chime in. Makes me feel like this is more meaningful. Okay. So the last thing I was talking about is just simply the fact that we need to get curious. We need to have these conversations, these difficult conversations. A lot of times I think we don't talk about the things that we struggle with or the things that we're thinking. And I'm curious if anybody would like to chime in and share. Can anybody share with me if they feel like they've achieved their goals or if they feel like they're struggling with where they're at? Any thoughts? Anybody feel like sharing? Expectations versus reality? So I think sometimes in my office, I have a lot of post-bariatric clients who have shared with me that they really hang their hat on this surgery making all the difference in the world, in their relationships, in their mental health, in their careers, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that that's not always the reality, and that can be a really tough thing to wrap your mind around. And I think it's important for us to have community where we feel comfortable sharing those things. So that's the only reason I ask, but no pressure.
I have a silly question because this is more going back to the teams, not what we're talking about. It's showing that Rebecca is the presenter. So all I can see is the round circle that says RL, but I can see faces along the bottom. Can you switch so that you're the presenter? Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes,
Um,
thank you. Because now I can see you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Somehow
you.
Rebecca got pinned or spotlit. So you can actually click on Megan's 3 dots and click
You can
pin.
pin it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, y'all
Y'all
are
are
wonderful.
so-
And I'm so
Yeah,
grateful.
y'all are teaching.
Because so since our hospital and all of our clinics started using Teams, I have been in my office like in a cave seeing clients. If I'm ever doing virtual, it's on doxy.me because I'm just seeing clients. I rarely present anymore. So you guys are probably like, this poor child. But I'm a millennial. I don't really have a good excuse except for that I just am in my books and with my clients. So thank you for your gracious advice and feedback, and hopefully we will make some progress in this conversation and you guys will feel like this is meaningful for you before it's all said and done. But I learned a hell of a lot about teams tonight. So let's continue chatting about expectations. That's something in Brene Brown's book, Rising Strong. She communicates expectations happen. That relationships, that's true with jobs, that's true with our own journey in mental health or working out or in pursuing weight loss, right? So being able to really have really meaningful conversations with your physician or with yourself about expectations. Can you guys hear my child screaming in the background?
Oh,
That makes me feel so much better about my life. I didn't even have to tell him myself. Being able to identify those things and have some clarity in the way that we honor our progress is really important. I think that we live in a world where social media drives our standard of excellence, and social media is nonsense, right? Like everybody's highlight reel is on social media, so we're comparing like the marketing pictures with our results, or we're comparing like the latest influencer that got famous for losing half of their body weight. And so I think we measure ourselves and our success up to really unrealistic standards. Like those are the outliers, not the rule, right? And so I think we set our own goals based on our own health, our own journey, what feels right for us, what's sustainable, right? Sustainability in this journey, I feel like, is so huge in continuing to honor ourselves as individuals and being able to increase our capacity for self-love. So I really feel like before, during, after, expectations and honesty and getting curious with yourself is very important. A lot of times people think that they'll be less insecure and more capable of meaningful connection if they lose weight, and then they lose all the weight and they still struggle with connection. And it's because that underlying shame didn't disappear when your stomach got smaller. You still have the trauma and the insecurity and the heartbreak and the grief that leads to that, and that needs to be worked through too. Yeah, this is an incredible tool to get healthier for so many reasons. But there might be other factors that we need to consider and other journeys that we need to take in the way of wellness. So if we go back to just thinking about trauma specifically, whether you're wanting to recover from the trauma that your body has experienced in surgery or rapid weight loss, or if you have other moments of trauma, because like I said, that's pretty standard I feel like a huge part of the human experience is struggle. And so most of us have been faced with tough stuff, and being able to work through that in tough moments is important. And trauma can present in lots of different ways for different people. Sometimes it's anxiety and panic. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's insomnia. It can be a lot of different things. But breath work, getting grounded, that's really important. Um, checking in with your five senses, or even just feeling like putting your hand on your stomach and your hand on your heart and checking in with what's going on inside of your body. Because even if you just redirect your brain from the fears or from the recollections of past traumas, if you focus on what's immediately real within your body, then it can kind of slow down the body's reaction to stress. Mindful meditation is something that I practice. I'm a mindfulness informed therapist. So a lot of my clients are super reluctant in learning how to practice mindfulness, but there are too many studies, and the efficacy of this practice is so huge. So, when you go in for your post-op checkups, the physical therapist measures you and talks about your conditioning program, right? Because no matter what you're trying to achieve, or maybe you're wanting to run a triathlon, or maybe you're just wanting to be able to stand up for long enough to get through the workday, conditioning is important, right? Regardless of your goal. If you're an athlete in high school, no matter what sport you play, conditioning, endurance, and strength training are all meaningful. That's how I see mindfulness in the therapeutic world. Whether we're going to use cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, EMDR, regardless of what modality is really being implemented in those therapeutic sessions, mindfulness is like priming the brain for its capacity to really achieve new connections and to achieve healing. Oh, thanks. Look at that. I'm also going to link a really cool, there's 2 TED Talks that I want you guys to watch, and I'll put the links in there when we're done with the presentation part. One is by Shauna Shapiro called The Power of Mindfulness, and one is literally about how we visualize stress or perceive stress, and how if we can change the way we understand stress, it can literally change the way our bodies respond to it, which is in and of itself mindfulness, right? When we control the way we perceive, or the thoughts that we get carried away with, then we have so much capacity to feel better. Affirmations. I'm a huge fan of affirmations. As a mom, as a coworker, as a therapist, as like within myself, my own inner voice, I try so hard to affirm myself, because even my like self-defaming jokes about like being a millennial and not knowing what I'm doing on Teams.
Oh no, we've lost her again.
It's how we communicate, right? Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes. No.
Okay, y'all hang on. Okay, she's working on coming back. I'm so sorry, y'all. Sometimes you
While
love.
she's coming back, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I had seen, looking through the book, and it talks about like using the bariatric app to help you. What app is that?
It's called the Baritastic. So it's like fantastic and bariatric melded together. So BARITASTIC. Baritastic. So yes, that's a free download, and the code is 31302. Oh, Shannon, she is on it. She just uploaded the link.
I produce
Yes.
virtual events for a living, so.
Oh, we need to have you coordinate these now, Shannon.
Rebecca,
Okay,
I was going to ask, do you have access to the PowerPoint? Because you could share it as well.
I do not.
Okay.
But we should be able to upload it onto the website. So I'll work on that this week and let you guys know, because she's fabulous. She's so good.
Okay. And I have another question, because you said that she just uploaded the link. The Teams, I don't know, because it's different from what I used at work, and I cannot, because I'm on my private computer here, I can't find out how to get to the, like, where people are typing, and like where she shared the link.
Yeah, are you on your phone or are you on a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Okay. There should be to the side, it's always with those three little dots.
Right. By the hang up and all of that.
Yes. But there's let me see if I can get on my computer.
Yeah, because
Hey,
like I
guys.
said, it all looks different than what I use at work. It's
Interesting.
yeah.
Hey, are you back?
I am. I just got on my phone. I don't know what is going on. My computer, my internet's it's strong. I don't know. My service is strong, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't either.
I'm so
but
sorry, you guys.
it's okay. And then Lance, I'm going to work on my computer and see if I can find out how to get it where you can see the chat. Nobody has chatted. We're all kind of unmuting here and there. So but you can't see what Shannon put up. So let me go work on.
No, that's the thing. And like I said, I have used Teams before. I had to teach with it last year, but this looks completely different.
Different. Okay. Well, let me work on that, and let's have Megan finish up or continue where she's at, and then I'll get back to you, Lance.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca, do you have like a email list for everybody that is in the support groups? So because this has been spotty and kind of a sad representation of my capacity to present, could I send like a follow-up email or some resources and things?
You're adorable, Megan. Yeah, so not everybody has put their entire name on there, but anybody who's on there, if you just reach out to me and I can forward your information to Megan. But honestly, Megan, these things happen, and everybody understands that. So everybody's kind of interested in your PowerPoint. So if you want to forward that to me, and then people who ask for it, I can send to them. Oh, Shannon is saying something. Let me see what she's saying.
She said upload to Google Drive. Yeah, if everybody will we will figure out something. So let me keep chatting about meaningful things, and then we'll figure out a way to get you guys the information, the books, and the videos. Cool. Okay, so I was talking about affirmations, which is really important for me right now, because as I'm flailing about in this online connection with you beautiful people, and I needed to hear that everything is going to be okay. So thank you for that, Rebecca. And it totally is. And like I was saying, sometimes we can be really unkind to ourselves. We can be really harsh with ourselves. Our inner voice is not kind. Our inner voice is way harsher than it should be, and I usually use the rule of thumb: if you wouldn't speak to your child or somebody else's child that way, then you probably wouldn't speak to yourself that way. Hello, did somebody say something?
I am not unmuted, so I'm going to mute myself. I'm not muted. I'm muting.
Yeah. Perfect. So in one of the videos that I'm going to send you guys, either in the chat or via email, is the power of mindfulness, what you practice grows stronger. And she encourages people to literally say good morning to yourself, say I love you to yourself, because we are just basically unkind and take a difficult or harsh tone, and have expectations for ourselves that are mean. When I'm presenting in person, something that I usually do is I put whoever's super engaged in the conversation and willing to talk on the spot. So I would be like, hey, Lance, I want you to say to me something that you've told yourself today, like something that you told yourself when you were getting ready for work this morning or whenever you were jumping onto this presentation, some criticism or some harshness. And then I have you like in that room face to face, say it to me. And that they're like, usually people are like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to tell you that, because it's not true. And that's mean. And I'm like, well, yes, if you won't tell me, a complete stranger who you have literally no attachment to, then why would you speak to yourself like that on a day-to-day basis? And I think we just need to tune into that and be a little bit more aware. Visualizations, this is something that can be used in a healing process. There's lots of different ideas about visualizations. I use visualizations with my clients a lot, but mostly when I use visualization is when I'm trying to get my kids to sleep at night. We use visualizations to help calm them down and get them out of either being wound up or stressed about homework or whatever's going on. And community and self-compassion are really important coping skills for not only trauma, but just mental health in general. Having people that you can connect with and talk to via a support group or your family or your friends. Those things are very, very important. And self-compassion is huge. Self-compassion is a little bit different than just self-kindness. Sometimes it's the metaphor that I always use for this is if I'm watching my daughter play basketball and she falls down, and I take that moment to assess, okay, is she injured? Does she need assistance? Or is she tired? Does she need encouragement? Or is she throwing a fit and needs redirection, right? Those are all compassionate responses, but I have to take a second to really assess what is like what the appropriate response to that is in that moment. And we have to do that for ourselves too, because we could be the biggest enablers for our own unhealthy behaviors. And we have to really be in tune with what is good and what is helpful and what is not. So we have to consider before and after surgery a lot of things that are difficult to talk about, but really important to be aware of. That can be numbing behaviors, eating disorders, the rate of cross addiction for people who experience food addiction and pursue bariatric surgery is actually quite significant. And it's something that I always try to mitigate the risk for in my pre-surgical evaluations in my office. So if there is a tendency to overeat or binge or numb with food, and then you don't have that capacity anymore, being very mindful of alcohol intake or drug use or even busyness, being addicted to work or being constantly engaged with your phone or just being busy in general can be a form of addiction. Self-harming tendencies, impulsive behavior as we rediscover ourselves. I think a lot of times when there is this dramatic shift and in the way we feel and the energy we have and the way that people respond to us, there can be some impulsivity associated with that or some kind of behaviors that lead to you just needing to have a gut check moment with yourself and reconnect with your values and make sure that you were being true to yourself. But I think all of these things, whether you've had bariatric surgery or not, these are part of the human condition, and being really honest with yourself and aware is very important. Sorry, I just got distracted by the chat in here. I can't see the chat on my phone. I think that when I've done this presentation in the past, navigating relationships has been something that is really meaningful for people, something that they really want to focus on and talk about, because I think that can be such a difficult thing, regardless of what surgery you have or what your weight loss journey is, right? Like navigating relationships with other people is so hard. And other people are very much involved in this journey with you, right? Whether it was before you were deciding to have the procedure, or whether you were like in your recovery, or if you had any post-surgical complications, things like that. People have feelings about weight loss, right? People have a tendency to offer feedback about weight loss when they probably wouldn't offer feedback about some of the other things in your world. I find it interesting how it's like, if you're pregnant or losing or gaining weight, people feel like they have a right to say things about those things. And I find it fascinating. So I think learning how to set boundaries with people is really, really important. Learning how to get curious about why people feel so strongly about your journey is important, but also figuring out why you feel so strongly about their opinion of your journey is very important. And that kind of leads back to some shame work. Some, if we pursued weight loss as a means to love ourselves and to feel like we're enough, is that shame going to go away by having the surgery and meeting our goal weight? It might not, and that might lead to more work. I think when we talk about navigating relationships and navigating your weight loss, I go back to the social media topic. I think that we have a desire sometimes to put ourselves on display in a way that can be really hurtful for ourselves. Sometimes it can be really, really uplifting and encouraging. And I think having boundaries there in that community is as important as having boundaries within your home or within your family, right? But I think sometimes people forget about boundaries in a social media standpoint. Does anybody have any thoughts about their support system, their thought processes on weight loss or weight loss surgery, any struggles that you're having? Sometimes I think when you're trying to reconnect with your significant other in an intimate way after surgery, it can be really hard because you're having to relearn a new body and they're having to relearn a new body, right? Those are some of the uncomfortable things that we have to talk about when we're on this journey of rediscovery and rebirth. Because that's what all of this is. It's so brand new. And if you still are experiencing shame, or if your partner is struggling with feeling as connected to you in this new version of you, then those are things that we must talk about. Does anybody have any thoughts? There's a bunch of you in here. Does anybody have any thoughts on relationships and struggles with shame post Bari surgery? It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to share. But I do encourage you guys, if anything that I've said tonight about shame or about connection with people has struck a chord, there are so many therapists out there, and there's, the apps that we have access to these days, BetterHelp, or all of these different things where you can just jump on your phone and have face-to-face interaction with a therapist. It's actually quite beautiful, the accessibility of mental health in comparison to even 5-10 years ago. I think as we've gone through COVID and isolation, and people having to cope with things that we didn't even know we were going to have to focus on or to live through, I think that our worlds have all been pretty shaken. Thank you. Yes, intimacy is scary. It is. I wish so badly that I knew more about each of your individual journeys, because it can be all over the spectrum. But if you don't recognize yourself, or you don't feel comfortable with loose skin, or if you don't know what to wear, or if you don't even know how to move your body in this new way, then it can be very, very uncomfortable. Absolutely, no doubt. And intimacy isn't just sex. It can be holding hands, or even just somebody wrapping their arm around you. I see this. Oh, Laura, what's up?
Okay. Yes, can you hear me? Oh.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, you're muted again, sister. I could hear you for a second and then you were muted.
Okay. I have not. Okay, I have not had it yet. I'm scheduled for January 5th. My husband is very with his as I change and make my health a more priority moving forward. He says he's kind of wants to see how I succeed but consider staying the same surgery.
Okay, so it was kind of spotty in the connection, but I think what I heard was that you are in conversation with your spouse. You guys are trying to get on the same page about like your expectations moving forward, and he doesn't want to commit to another surgery until you. That's what I heard. I could barely hear anything. So unfortunate, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Can you? Oh, you sound much better now. Will you hold your microphone up like that and say it again?
Okay, is this better?
Yes, so much better.
Hey, sorry, y'all. Okay, I'm going to have a gastric sleeve surgery in January, and my husband is significantly overweight as well. And so, how do I help support him from feeling shame that I have made changes for our family for us to move towards diets and not make him feel like he's been left behind because he's not gone through the surgery himself?
Yeah, that's such an important question. Thank you for asking that. I think, we are not just our weight, right? That's an external representation of so much of ourselves. And I think that hopefully he can feel inspired by the changes that you're experiencing. And I think that you guys really leveling with each other and being really honest with each other, because the last thing that you want is for him to still feel shame and project that shame onto you in a way that feels hurtful for you, right? And so I think when you guys are having feelings, I think it's important to share those. One thing I hear in my office is a lot is that people think when people lose weight, then they're going to leave the partner that they're with now. You know, they're going to have some midlife crisis and leave their current relationship. And that's also not true. That's not statistically sound. But I think being really honest with each other, and telling him that you love him for reasons that have nothing to do with either of your sides, right? And that your goal, I'm sure your goals are related to feeling good and having energy and all kinds of things. It's not just specifically the number on the scale, right? And I think you guys just talking about those really and vulnerably is important. And those conversations can be really uncomfortable. And so I think when we have those really shame-based, vulnerable conversations, I think being able to remove yourself from the conversation when it gets too far is really important for both of you. Like, so if it gets uncomfortable for him, he needs to be able to say, hey, can we pick back up on this in a couple days? And you not being like, no, we're going to talk about this right now. And I want you to tell me everything that you're afraid of so we can resolve it tonight. You know what I mean? Everybody has different communication styles. I think giving him that freedom to be vulnerable at his pace, because you're obviously ahead of the journey in this vulnerability pursuit of changing your health, right? And that's awesome. And I'm super proud of you. That's going to be so exciting for you. But giving him that kind of generosity perspective of he's doing the best he can and you're doing the best you can, and you're both at different places on your journey. So just offering compassion and honesty and curiosity in that is the best way, I think.
Okay.
Hey,
right, thank you.
Therapist. I don't do marriage therapy, but I could refer you to some good ones.
I've been through my share of it.
I think that you guys are going to do great.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts right now? Okay, so I put the link for the YouTube videos in there. Hopefully that will be helpful. And then I want to hit on self-care real fast. And then I want to talk about, like, at what point do we have to cross that threshold and get some professional help, right? Sorry, my daughter was at the door and I had to redirect her for a second. Okay, so let's talk about self-care. Everybody, I think self-care is such a buzzword, like a very hashtagable topic in social media, in conversations. I'm sure when you're talking to your physicians or your friends or your therapists, it's all about movement and hydration and nutrition and all of these self-care things. But I think we also have to be really mindful of our unique differences, whether it's in love languages, personality types, whether you're introverted or extroverted, whether you need physical touch or whether you despise physical touch, whether you need 5 hours of sleep or maybe you need 10 hours of sleep a night. And I think everybody should get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night if we want to go to the science. But I'm just using that as an example of everybody needs different things, and being really honest with yourself about what is self-care versus what is indulgent or numbing. Because I think we can really enable ourselves with some unhealthy behaviors when it's with the pursuit of self-care in mind. And I also, one thing that I've seen a lot of lately is people kind of forgetting about the importance of community care. We are tribal animals. We are hardwired for connection. I'm all about being independent and self-affirming and looking inward for love and looking inward for confidence. But we are built for meaningful interactions with other humans. And I know that isolation is something that's very common now. Specifically in this population, when we're pursuing dramatic weight loss, isolation can be a struggle. Living in a COVID world, isolation is a struggle. But being able to be intentional about those meaningful connections. And if you struggle with having people that you can even think of for those meaningful connections, then that in and of itself is a conversation that I would love to have with you, that I would love to get creative with you about on how to build that community. But I wanted, when we're talking period, whether it's about community care or self-care, there are 3 tenets that I talk about when you're developing your self-care plan. And I think we need to consider physiological needs. Basic hydration, nutrition, rest. Sometimes when my clients are super anxious, I'll say, how many cups of coffee did you have? How much water have you drank? And how much protein have you taken in? And this is not just people who have had or are going to have a bariatric procedure. This is like the human body, period, because dehydration can mimic anxiety and vice versa, because of a stress response. Your body's stress response is your stress response, period, regardless of what's causing that, right? So physiological needs, basic physiological needs, emotional needs, and then spiritual needs. I think to tune into all of those things, and everybody can have their own journey as far as what spirituality looks like. But I think that being able to tap into that's really important. And I think when you see signs of numbing behaviors, when you're really having a tendency to isolate, to shut yourself off from other people, maybe you were on an antidepressant or some kind of mood stabilizer prior to surgery, and you recognize that either the way you're metabolizing that medicine or something is not quite right. Like your mood has developed a new pattern of instability post-surgically, which is very common. You have to adjust your medication dosage or even the type of medication after you undergo something as significant as bariatric surgery. If you are noticing a cross addiction or maybe a new addiction, any suicidal thoughts, any self-harming behaviors, or any concerns about eating disorders, I think that any of these things would solicit an expedited call to get some help. Either talk to your primary care physician first or foremost. If you're actively suicidal, of course, call 911, or go to an emergency room. And if you just feel like you're not quite right and you can't overcome shame, that in and of itself is enough to justify at least getting in with a therapist once or twice. And like I said, accessibility today in 2021 is way better than it was even whenever I first was a therapist. I think that we should take advantage of that and continue to advocate for having increased accessibility to mental health care. So friends, that was spotty. That was choppy. I've used multiple devices. You have not seen my presentation, but I hope that you've heard my heart for mental health. I hope that you guys have some kind of nugget that you can hold on to and focus on, whether that's the way that you speak to yourself, whether that's practicing mindfulness, whether that's, oh crap, I think I'm numbing with busyness and I need to get that in check. If there's been anything that's helpful tonight, I hope that you'll hold on to that and pursue increased wellness and happiness for yourself, because you all deserve it. You are all very worthy, just exactly as you are now. And as you will be moving forward, or as you were before you even started this journey. Worthiness is not plugged into how successful we are at losing weight. It just isn't. And being able to hold dear and tightly to your worthiness and seeing success in this journey as something separate is very, very important. So thank you guys for your patience, for your feedback on Teams. I sent those 2 YouTube links. I will also send Rebecca the slide deck so you guys can look through it and have access to it. But I wish you all wellness and happiness. And if you have any questions, please always reach out to me.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, go take care of that baby.
I'm so sorry, you guys. She's real cute. She's real cute. I promise you. I'll even, maybe in the chat, I can share a picture of my kids, so then you'll be like, oh, she really is cute. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of your kindness and your patience, and I hope to hear from you guys if you need anything. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate you. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yes, you too. Happy Christmas is good too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for being here. I love the interaction. I love all of you guys and seeing your faces and everything. So let me know if you have questions. I can put, oh, and Lance, when I'm on the computer, it looks like at the very top, there's little people on the top right-hand corner. You have the leave button, and then you have the share button, and then you have like a speaker and a video, and then the 3 buttons, and then the raise your hand, and then there's a little bubble with a red dot. That's the chat. Do you have that? No.
No, because that's what I was saying. This looks completely different than what I'm used to, because yeah, normally that's up in the top right-hand corner, and it's not. It's down here at the bottom. And even when I click on those 3 red buttons, it just says show settings, show call details, full screen, or background effects. It doesn't give me the chat option. I have not found that anywhere.
Oh my word. That's so strange.
But yes, you had said something about you would email us if we wanted. I would love all the information in email.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3. I only have 3 people's emails. So just send it through the chat. Well, you can't give me through the chat. Well, I can give y'all my email.
Yes, would you please do that?
Yes, it's R Luttrell. That's LU T as in Tom, RELL at Wise Health System. No S at the end. Just wisehealthsystem.com.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. You bet. Okay. Well, in 2 months, in February, I believe it'll be me talking about diet. I'll do like she did, like small presentation and then question and answer. I can answer any questions from pre-op to what you should do before surgery, before you get to the pre-op diet, after surgery, all of that. So it would be great if you guys have specific questions, because I see familiar faces from last 2 months ago when we had Megan. That was another Megan, our PA. if y'all could just send in some questions, and then I'll kind of answer the top 10, and then you guys can come with other questions. So that's what will happen in 2 months, February, second Tuesday in February. So I look forward to seeing all of y'all. Okay, well, any questions about anything, y'all? Not right now. Okay. Well, if you think of any, email me, and you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And yes, please be good to yourself over the holidays, and please feel free to contact me anytime. And if you have questions about food or holiday stuff or anything like that, or just want some support, I'm here for you guys too. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. All right, y'all have a good night.
You
You
too.
too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.